Yeah, hi there. These comments are for, excuse me, DW, and I am Professor Buckoff, your English 306 instructor here at California State University, San Bernardino, and you wanted me to take a look at your essay, right? So, in this case, we have, in the beginning, you mentioned the book, The Trial of, the essay you wrote, The Trial of Porphyria's Lover, was my argumentative essay based on the rhetorical analysis of Robert Browning's poem, Porphyria's Lover. My object was to critically read the poem and determine whether the subject was guilty of murder or not guilty by reason of insanity. The approach I took to writing this essay followed a process that I use in most of my writing. In comparing my writing methods for this essay, I'm going to use here, instead of that, those, because you're using, I think, those refers back to methods, which is plural. You might want to say here, this is probably a little bit wordy. Just say we both use outlines in the preliminary stages. Can probably even omit a few words here. And multiple rough drafts until reaching the final. Divergence of our methods occur in the types of outlines we use and how we develop our rough drafts. Marius creates 3 rough drafts, each fulfilling a different purpose, whereas I make 2 rough drafts for each paragraph, combine them together into a third draft, and polish the third draft into the final. So I think your introduction, I think, is on task. I like how you introduce your writing assignment, and then you lead into your discussion of the compare and contrast writing. Now, what I think you need to do here is you need to improve the topic sentences. The topic sentences need to better connect, I think, back to the thesis. Now, I'm going to just give you an example of something you might consider with your second paragraph. So what I did is I looked back at your thesis, and you said outlining was an essential tool to writing my argumentative essay. But that only focuses around your process and what you did. It doesn't bring together the 2 writing processes, and it doesn't state whether they're similar or different, right? So you need a more sharply focused compare and contrast type topic sentence. So here's what I did here. I put, first of all, although Marius and I use outlines in our first drafts, we differ in terms of the type of outline that we use. You see what I'm saying? I think this is better in some sense as a topic sentence here because you're combining the 2 sources here. And then, instead of saying your own process here, what I would do is, to make this a little more coherently organized, I would deal with Marius first. So instead of saying outlining was an essential tool to writing my argumentative essay, you would say outlining is an essential tool to help students write their essays according to Marius. And then you can say something like, in fact, Marius states, blah, blah, blah. Right? So state, instead of trying to go back and forth, I would maybe take about half of this paragraph dealing with Marius's ideas and what he states about outlines, and then once you've done half of that paragraph, then you get into what Marius is talking about. So it was probably, I know what you're saying though. You're saying, well, Michael, I'm talking about how I am similar, but also how I'm different. So I guess if you're doing that, you can do that, but it was just a little bit awkward to have this idea, and then you have Marius's idea, then you're back to your idea here. So it needs to be a little bit better sequence, I think, in this paragraph, and it really starts with the topic sentence here. Do you see what I'm saying? So that's really one of the main things. Remember, a paper that gets an A has a very coherent organization. That means that those topic sentences in the body paragraphs, they tie back to the thesis in the beginning. Now let's take a look at one of your other paragraphs. So I do have a suggestion. I think that you can probably better organize this paragraph. Think about how you can organize it, and it really begins with the topic sentence. Once you have the topic sentence here, then you can figure out how to organize it. So based on the topic sentence, you could discuss, I guess, part of the paragraph, kind of what you're doing, is how you and Marius use outlines. You can get that out of the way. Then the rest of the paragraph is to show how you're different in that you use a formal, he uses more of an informal outline, right? Okay, now let's go back here. See here, in this case, you see after creating his list, Marius begins writing his first draft. The problem here is it doesn't state in this first paragraph here, it doesn't really state the topic sentence. It isn't clear whether you're comparing or contrasting his ideas. So what you have to do now is to think about, okay, how can I create a topic sentence that kind of follows the first one here? Okay, so let's take a look at what I did here. So the purpose of this paragraph, it's really twofold. The purpose of this paragraph here is to connect it back to the previous paragraph, but also to connect it back to the thesis. Even a third purpose is to give the paragraph a very clear compare and contrast type purpose. So if you look at your previous paragraph, we have here, first of all, although Marius and I use outlines in our first drafts, we differ in terms of the type of outline that we use. That gives the topic sentence for this paragraph. Then we can follow what you have here. Next paragraph, which is second of all, Marius and I differ in regards to how long we stay on task when completing a writing project. See that? Now this gives this more of a purpose. And then you have what you have here. So if we move over here, we go to the next one, we got to go back again. Now I'm not going to mess with this one. This is your job, right? So I've probably done too much already here. So what I want you to do, part of your job here is as you're revising this paper, look at this this final paragraph here where you say it is now time for Marius to transition into the third draft of his writing. Again, you're only talking about Marius here as in your topic sentence. You're not making the allowance for Marius and your process. You see what I'm saying? So again, you need a better topic sentence in that second to that last paragraph. It looks like your conclusion kind of ties everything together. Now the next question is, if we're looking at the rubrics, let me see if I can find it right now for a minute here. Okay, so if I looked at yours, it says strong introduction with appropriate context. I would probably give you pretty high marks there. Clear compare and contrast thesis which frames it, yes. You probably get pretty good marks there. You get good marks here. I think here you mentioned your essay in the beginning, but I'd like to see you be a little more specific in those body paragraphs by referring back to your essay occasionally. What am I talking about here? If you go back, you're talking about this rhetorical analysis of Robert Browning's poem, right? So here, instead of my argumentative essay, you might say, well, outlining was an essential tool to writing my rhetorical analysis essay. Even if you restated that, you can say argumentative, I guess, which does it. But rhetorical analysis is a little bit more specific even than that. So make sure that you're repeating from time to time some aspect of your writing assignment and try to be specific there. That helps you here. Develops ideas in depth. This is where you lose some points. You probably lose quite a few points here. Establishes a clear compare and contrast pattern of development so the paper feels organized and orderly from beginning to end. Uses effective generalization support patterning, strong paragraphing. What does that mean? That means here, when we look at one of your paragraphs, you say, in the final draft of my body paragraphs, I followed the sequence of supporting points established. In this case, you went more to the support idea, not the general idea. If you go to the general idea, you'll discuss both writing projects in general first, and then you move more to the detail after that. That means that that one paragraph needs to have a better topic sentence. And I've given you some other examples of how you can do that. So you have, for the most part, I think, pretty good control over your sentence style, all of that. I just think that you can, in a little bit better manner, you can make the essay more coherently organized, especially by creating those tightly focused, compare and contrast topic sentences. All right? So if I graded your paper now, I would probably say it would be maybe a B, mid-range B, maybe a low B. That's probably where you are right now. I don't think you get in the A category on this one, not as you have written it right now.